with, Mark III Benefits Administrator, that's the Blue Cross Blue Shield man. Then we'll have a public hearing at 9:30, which we'll probably skip over all that, looks like, until we'll be done with the meeting by the time that happens. Then we have, unfinished business, request on application for Wayne County opioid, settlement funds. Who's gonna be, that would be combo between Ginger and Andrew. Then we'll go on to our consent agenda with the budget amendments. So, morning, how are you? Yes, ma'am. All right,
All right, number 340 is the Health Department. This is to realign the family planning drugs and related supplies to the Title 10 project line for the amount of $24,832.
all right.
Budget amendment number 343.
Angie, one question. Aren't they
Hold on
both the
just a minute,
same account numbers there?
They are different, so it's moving it to a project code, PTLX.
Yeah, but 1315.
They are the same, they're the same account numbers, but there's a project code that's tied to the second
Okay,
line.
well, I didn't know if it was a typo or not. Okay.
Which one you on now?
Number 343 for the sheriff's office.
Second one.
Okay.
So this is to reallocate funds that they already have budgeted, but they're moving it to a capital line item for $17,827. This is to purchase a double transport trailer for the dive team.
All right,
Number 345 is the Department of Social Services. This is to reallocate their funds from their assistance line item to their in-home services in the amount of $17,838 due to an increase in their caseload. Budget Amendment 346 is the Health Department. This is to realign their health education, healthy communities budget to better use the available funds for the remainder of the year. Budget Amendment number 347, this is for Veterans Services. This is to anticipate and appropriate grant funds that they have received in the amount of $2,173.91 from the North Carolina Division of Military and Veterans Affairs. Budget Amendment number 348 is Cooperative Extension. This is to appropriate funds that they have received from donations to cover their programming and other supplies. This is in their Master Gardeners program as well as their Cooperative Extension line items. Budget Amendment number 349. This is to appropriate additional funds to cover the purchase of sheriff's vehicles for using ARPA funds in the amount of $443.10. We've been moving forward with our ARP funds, so we're doing some cleanup with our budget amendments, and the next one is for ARPA funding as well. We needed to move an additional $3,272 to cover the purchase for the Mobile Command Center out of ARPA funds. Budget Amendment number 351 is for the Health Department. This is to allocate remaining funds for reducing infant mortality in communities in the amount of $24,298. Budget Amendment number 355 is also the Health Department, and this is to increase their funding for agreement addendum for the vaccination program. This is to fund language services to their clients in the amount of $27,608. Number 356 is Finance Office. This is to realign funds to cover additional medical examiner invoices for $20,000 to get us through the end of the year. Number 357 is Gateway. This is to anticipate postage expense and reimbursement from Gateway for this expenditure in the amount of $270. I will lump number 360 and 363. They're both the Health Department and the same reasoning. This is a cleanup of their accounts. All the funds were budgeted in their administration line items. And they are realigning these budgets so they can spend them in the appropriate line items.
359 as well.
360 and 363.
What was 359?
I'm sorry, I skipped 359. Yes, sir. All three of those are the same reasoning. Yes, sir. When they ask for reimbursement, they need to be in the appropriate lines, and when they were originally budgeted, they were lumped in one line item, so that's getting them in the correct lines. Moving on to 362, this is Sheriff's Office. They have been awarded a JAG grant for $18,269, so this is to anticipate and appropriate those funds. And this is to purchase individual first aid kits to be kept in all the Wayne County Sheriff's Office vehicles.
You figure out the split. Chip, did you figure out the split?
Excuse me?
Did you figure out the split between us and Goldsboro on that?
This is all sheriff's office. Isn't it?
Well,
I don't. Let's see the message.
You want the total grant amount and what the city and what the county received?
It's $47,007, right?
Yes, sir, and Goldsboro got $29,433, and we received $18,269. They applied for the grant and they do all the administration as well.
I got you. They applied for the grant.
Yes, sir, typically, this is an annual thing that they typically apply for, and in the past, they have purchased vehicles.
Did the city applied or the?
The city.
Oh, the city applied, okay.
Yes,
so-
sir.
Okay, so they applied for the grant and they got more of the funds, I got you, okay. Thank you.
Budget amendment number 364 is also the sheriff's office. This is for a $100,000 grant that they have applied for and been awarded. This is from the United Way. This is to establish a youth crime prevention program. The budget amendment is allocated to fund one full-time position for 1 year, as well as some funds to go towards a part-time employee.
All right,
And that is all I have.
thank you, ma'am. All right, on to the late present use value applications.
You have, one application there for 2 tracts of land, 1 30-acre tract and 1 45-acre tract. They were left out due to a ownership change, and they're asking for that to be added. And, tax office has vetted that, so.
All right, any questions? All right, next be, motion to approve the final upset bid for surplus property jointly owned by the city and the county. 1105 and 1107 North George Street. That would be Mr. Andrew.
Good morning. This was, property actually came, in front of you in December. We had an original offer at $6,040. We went through the upset bid period and 3 bids were received. So the highest bid ended up being $10,000, and that went to Community Technical Assistance. So we just need to bring that back to you for approval, and then we can send it to the city. And just as a reminder, the tax value on both of those, the combined tax value was $6,040. So,
Any questions?
What number is it on the map?
Ooh, what number? Right here.
should be the 1105 and 1107.
1107.
These two, the 2 empty lots right there in the middle.
Right here, okay, 1105 and 7.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. All right, the motion to approve preliminary plat of Hunter's Trace subdivision. Mr. Barry,
Very great.
Hi, good morning.
good morning.
This is a preliminary plat for, excuse me, for Hunter's Trace subdivision. So this is the start of the process. So it is the first time you have seen this plat. This is 77 lots, but that are proposed on 79 acres. It's out on Hooks Road, just west of Fremont, near the intersection of Herman Hooks Road. Herman Hooks kind of dead ends. It backs up to 795. The average lot size is around 30,000 square feet, and the planning board has reviewed this request and recommends approval.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, number 10, Local Government Commission response to the auditor's findings, recommendations in physical matters.
You'll see in your packet, explanation memo as to why we have to do this, but, state law does require us to develop a response to the auditor's findings, recommendations, fiscal matters signed by a majority of the members of the governing body and submitted to the local government commission within 60 days of the auditor's presentation. This response must be addressed it must address both audit findings and performance indicators of concern. During the audit presentation for the year ending June 30, 2023, the county's auditors identified one such item that required a written response to the LGC. Based upon the date of the audit presentation, this response is due to the LGC by March 16, 2024. Attached is the staff recommended response to this item prepared according to the guidance from the LGC's website. And this is the third year in a row that we have had to do this, and it is as a result of the sewer, the Grantham sewer that was built when the Grantham School was built. So the LGC has required us to report that debt in the sewer system fund, but it's not being supported by the fees that we're collecting. So as long as the sewer fund is separate from the general fund, it will show as a financial indicator of concern. We are proposing or looking at researching moving the sewer fund into the general fund, so this is no longer an issue. Had that debt not been listed there, we would not have this concern.
Got it.
Can you do that, to put a sewer account into a general fund?
Our sewer fund is not technically an enterprise fund. It's not set, I mean, we have very few customers.
Yeah.
So we have talked with our auditors, we have talked with the LGC, and there's no concern to move it in there. It's not, it's supported by a transfer already.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So you will have this happen one more year because the sewer fund is separate from the general fund. We'll have this happen again next year with the audit, but once we move it to the general fund, if we do, this will no longer be an issue.
You can't do it with a budget amendment now to transfer it?
No, ma'am.
Any other
We'll
que-
make sure we handle it properly. We have already done the research, but we'll make sure.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Next will be a motion to approve the conveyance of 38.33 acres located at 404 Gateway Drive to Wayne County Development Alliance Incorporated.
Transferring the property at Park East back out to WCDA.
Got it.
Once we removed the covenants.
All right.
I did have a question on that. In deeding that back over, the 50,000 square foot shell building is actually the responsibility of the county, is that not correct? And so would we still want to deed that at this point?
Good question. Yeah. I don't think it matters.
It's a good question. So if you remember, we have an agreement with WCDA whereby the property would be in WCDA's name, and they're responsible for marketing it, only because they're a little bit more, they have a little bit more leeway in terms of advertising than the county would. So per that agreement, it would need to go back in their name, but we're still responsible for the costs associated with the 50,000 square foot building.
We just want to make sure that we've got clear agreement of reimbursement back to the county once it's sold.
Yeah, it's all covered by that agreement.
Okay.
And I think once it's finished, I believe it's gonna be subdivided. The plat will be recorded and it'll be subdivided because they're gonna break out those two buildings, so.
Well,
I assume
and
that'll be done at.
that's
at
my
the
other
end.
concern, and I haven't seen any plat in regards to the actually subdividing of that acreage.
I think one exists. I think they have to wait till all the inspections are complete with the city.
It exists, I've seen it, but I do not know, I can find out when it's gonna be recorded.
Okay, thank you very
It
much.
does exist, though.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? All right, then on to new business. Motion to approve the agreement between the County of Wayne, City of Goldsboro, and the Friends of Seymour for contract with Crossroads Strategies contingent upon attorney approval and appropriate budget amendment.
Of course, this is the agreement with the consultant for, we're going into a contract agreement with for protecting Seymour Johnson.
Right. Any questions?
I did. From what I'm seeing here, this is only an agreement through the end of June 30th of this year. Is that correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
And at that time, there'll be another agreement?
Correct.
Which will be
In the new
July.
fiscal year.
Right.
All right,
the
so
new-
we're trying to get it on the sequence of their fiscal year. Okay, thank you very
That was
much.
requested of the city. Any other questions?
Yep. Well, has our, relationship with the city changed then?
We feel
Or
like
hadn't,
it's-
or hadn't we had time?
we feel like it's moving in a forward motion.
Okay, good.
I think we're all on the same, on one accord when it comes to, Seymour Johnson's, attainment of his mission and future missions, so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're all on board. At least my conversations with the mayor has been.
Okay, that's great.
Any other comments or questions?
And was there any reason why that's not under consent?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Any other questions or comments?
all right.
All right, goes, the public comments. The county manager report, board of commissioners, committee reports. And we have a closed session, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's, do I have a motion to go in closed session? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you. We're in closed session. We'll recess to 9 o'clock. All right, I'll call the 9 o'clock, March 5th, Commissioner meeting to order. Mr. Daugherty, you have the invocation?
I do. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you for our many blessings that you have bestowed upon each of us. Lord, we thank you for our salvation. Today, Lord, we ask for your guidance as we tackle some important issues that Wayne County has before us. Lord, we seek and lean on your guiding hand. We ask all these in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, sir. If you would, please rise and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Unbelievable. Thank y'all. Just a little FYI, if we have an emergency from to my right, will go with me. I'll lead you out the building. To the left, we'll go with Carol. She'll lead you out. Chip and I'll sweep the floor in case we have any issues. And if we have a medical emergency, Mr. Dave Cutterback's in the back with EMS. Just see him. All right, thank y'all. Entertain a motion for approval of the February 20th minutes. All in favor, please cast your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion carries unanimous. All right, I entertain a motion for the approved agenda.
So moved. All
All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, please same sign. Motion carries unanimous. All right, special presentations, Mr. Mark Browder. Chip, you know,
Yes, sir. Mr. Mark Browder with Mark III is our benefits administrator, and he's got here with a plan update and performance for our 2024-25 renewal.
morning.
Good morning, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know if any of y'all were around, I think Mr. Daugherty was 9 years ago. The last time I was in front
Long
of you
time.
was not good news. And I appreciate staff letting me come back with really good news and how the plan has progressed over these 9 years. So thank you so much for having me. And we are the consultant for the county. We don't administer the benefits, but we do manage, enroll, and consult with your organization and your team, who is great to work with. And just as a brief reminder of who we are, we work with over 100 public sector customers. Our focus is on county and city business and school system business. And I think the depth of our experience has been of great value to the county. And then working with your team has been a true joy. We work with a variety of different administrators. We have a large block of business in North Carolina with Blue Cross, with Cigna, and other payers. So we have a significant amount of leverage with each of these administrators and know them very well. So just to summarize, over the past 5 years, your claims have declined, which is amazing when you think about medical inflation, pharmacy inflation, which is normally in the high single digits, depending. You've actually had claims declines of a total of 7% since 2019-20, which is amazing. And you've been able to implement unique disease management strategies to address the at-risk population, which has had significant impact on those participants' lives. And you've also implemented unique cost containment strategies and risk management strategies that have really benefited the organization. A lot of material on this page. I've circled the most important things. So we track the claims, the costs, the inputs, the budget every month for the county. This is the 21-22 plan year. Your claims were only up about 2.65%. That's in that blue circle. In the red, I circled this because at the time, the contract that you had, you weren't sharing in rebates. And rebates are pharmacy considerations paid by the manufacturer to the plan administrator. You had an artificially lowered administration fee you were paying to Blue Cross, but you weren't getting the rebates. That was not a good economic value for the county, and we changed that in 22-23, which we'll talk about. Budgetarily, in 21-22, we were in a great place. The budget was rock solid, in a positive position, and allowed for stability. So in 22-23, using our block of business with Blue Cross, we negotiated national accounts terms with Blue Cross on administration, pharmacy contract terms, and stop loss. And since this contract has gone into place, the renewal process has gone amazingly smooth because there are 23,000 members as part of this negotiation with Blue Cross. Sorry for it's not coming up quite right on my slides, but these are the groups that are now participating. It's almost about 30 groups. You're not commingling claims. You're using this size and scale to negotiate best-in-class contract terms. Some of the terms that have benefited all of the groups are no new laser. The county has had lasers in the past, and what the laser is a pooling level for a high claimant that's expected to be on an ongoing basis. And you had a claimant that was north of $600,000 that you got exposed to the risk for. That is no longer allowable under this contract on a go-forward basis. The other thing that you're benefiting from is a custom refund provision, which is if the stop-loss contract, which is the risk insurance, runs really well across the block and for Wayne County, then you get money back, which is exactly what happened. This is an example of why you want the no new laser contract provision in your contract and across this book of business. This is another county with a significant high claimant, a hemophiliac. It's expected to be an ongoing claim, and their claims are $1.2 million per year. So you, Wayne County, and all of the groups are protected against that liability. It's a sort of a lightning strike. It doesn't happen all the time. It's very infrequent. When it does, it can throw a budget into disarray. For 22-23, your claims were down about 12%. Really good performance. And that blue circle where I showed in the prior year, you basically got no rebate credits. You got almost $250,000 back under the contract. It works very, very well for Wayne County. It's only going to continue to grow. And budgetarily, we were in a great spot as well. This page, and I apologize, I'm a technician by nature. I speak a foreign language. This is the business that I'm in. So if you have any questions, please ask. I'm not trying to make it more complicated than it is. This is the loss ratio history of your stop-loss insurance, which is the risk insurance. And as you can see, you had significant claim activity in the yellow. So the premiums collected versus the reimbursements were significant high claimant traffic that Wayne County had. And the renewals reflected that bad performance. You saw in the red, basically you were averaging high 10% increases in the stop-loss reimbursements. Because of some of the wellness strategies that have been deployed, also because of good fortune, the high claimants have declined precipitously. Your renewals, since you implemented IHA, that collaboration with all these other counties and cities, is high single-digit increases on the stop-loss, basically 10 points under what you were facing in the prior 6 years. So tremendous change in your trajectory. The renewal in 22-23 saw a, 23-24 saw a reduction in administration, saw a marginal increase in the stop-loss premium, and your fixed cost, which is not any challenge that you have, it was only up 3.6% with all of the protections that I just described. The renewal for 24-25 is just as good. Another reduction in administration, improvement in contract terms for the pharmacy, and then a modest increase on the stop-loss contract. In this block of business with Blue Cross, there is about $2.7 million that are being distributed back to the groups. Wayne County is benefiting from that. You guys are getting approximately, you got in the January standing of account about $290,000 back. That took your fixed cost net negative, which is amazing to have your stop-loss administration costs actually decline on a total basis, which is amazing. For the current year, your claims are flat. You've gotten over $360,000 of rebate value back. You're headed to about $400,000. Again, a positive for the county, and budgetarily, we're in solid shape. One of the things as a reminder, is you are a self-funded health plan. That means you don't send premiums to Blue Cross. We help you set budgeted rates for the upcoming year, and we've done that since we've been working with you for over a decade. We also try to project what costs are going to be. It is important in a self-funded environment, to do modest increases in funding. You're basically paying yourself. So if the formula, and this is our underwriting workup, says that you should increase funding about 2% for the total plan. The recommendation is to increase by a modest 3% on county funding, no increase in funding on the employee side, so employees don't see benefit changes, and they don't see premium increases as well. And you're basically paying yourself and protecting yourself against the day where you will see claims fluctuation. Because ultimately, as good of a job as the staff and our wellness partners are doing for the county employees, ultimately there's a claim that's going to come that is going to be dramatic in cost. It's just a fact of the business. So we've helped the county staff, employees address the challenges that exist within your population, and those are diabetes and obesity, which are claims drivers that have an opportunity to have an impact. We naturally know that obesity, it's a struggle that most of us face. We know that it's going to impact diabetes and cardiovascular, but we don't think about the musculoskeletal claims that it can create, and also the cancer claims that also have a tie to obesity. You have a diabetes program in place that encourages engagement with a clinical pharmacist. It does not replace the endocrinologist. If they participate, they get a tremendous level of education and customer service from the clinical pharmacist, and they get their medications and supplies for free if they are engaged. So it's a real value, and it saves costs as well, not only for the participant, but also for the county as well. There's also a medical weight management program in place. If someone has a BMI north of 40 and they're pre-diabetic, not diabetic, because that's what the diabetes program is for, then they can get some of the medications and the coaching at a very high level for free. And the services that are provided by the clinical pharmacist are heavily engaging the employee. They visit with them quarterly. They also do group visits, virtual presentations, and there's also a weekly check-in, which is really important. I was talking to a participant in another group yesterday about this, and she was saying that the weekly check-ins really help keep her on track. There's also digital scales. This particular individual has 2 sets of scales. The digital scale that the clinical pharmacist can see what the weight is. She has an off-the-book scale that she checks her weight during the weeks to see how she's doing. Does she need to tighten things up? And all of this engagement between the clinical pharmacist and the patient is accountability in a positive way to keep them on track. So it's a great collaborative relationship. We looked, when we started the medical weight management program, we looked at 5 counties, 3 cities, and if you look at the statistics, on average, 14% of the population had a BMI north of 40. These people are at risk, they know they're at risk, and they're looking for assistance. And you, the leadership here at the county, are providing your employees with that assistance. So today, on the diabetes program, you got about 42% of the population engaged. You would say, well, why isn't everybody engaged? Because it is voluntary. All wellness programs have to be voluntary, but you're seeing growth over time. We anticipate that growth. And these are 2 employees that you have who did testimonials that staff can provide you with the videos talking about the life-changing impact of these programs. So your employees understand that you are providing them with a service that they could get nowhere else. The medical community can't do it because you guys have the purse strings on the medical plan and all the incentives and all the resources. So it's changing lives. From a cost perspective, these participants in this program cost you less than the non-participants. So it's not only you're providing services, you're providing them with medications at no cost, you're providing them with education, but it's also they have better claims outcomes because they're better managed, they don't go to the ER as much, they don't have uncontrolled diabetes challenges that go on. So the financial side of what you're doing is also being validated. So it's not only changing lives, clinically, you'll see here on this slide where people were in 19 versus where they're at in 23, making improvements in all the biometric measurements. So clinically, they're doing better, financially, they're doing better, and you're changing lives. This A1C is a measurement of blood sugar levels over a 3-month period of time, and look at the changes that have occurred in the participants. It's amazing what you're able to provide your employees. We still have claims challenges. These are high claimants. We still have renal failure as a challenge within the organization, but if you look at this, typically high claims are going to include obesity, they're going to include diabetes, and you don't see it anywhere at all. Again, the engagement has helped to impact this. And in closing, everything that you're doing, all the successes that you've had over the last 5 years, it's good for your people. It makes them better employees. You're saving them money, you're saving yourselves money, and you're doing things for them that they could never do on their own. Financially, the plan's in great shape. You continue to do small incremental funding changes. It's in the plan's best interest. It'll help you, protect you against shock claims that ultimately will happen. A hemophiliac, a significant cancer claimant, significant pharmacy medication. There are medications out there today that are $2 million per year. But all in all, much better than the last time I was in front of you 9 years ago. We appreciate the opportunity to work with you and your staff, and if there's any questions, just let me know.
All right, thanks, sir. Anybody got any questions?
You have a comment?
Oh, yeah, I got a comment or two also. But you go
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if it's helping, but I also see some things that's going on in, I think the Human Resource Department, as far as working out and exercising.
That's
I
what
get
this-
the emails and everything, so I think that's helping a lot, and you know what I mean? And a few of the ladies I know go to the same gym as me. I see them working out every morning, so I think also that's gonna be something that we can continue to push and push a little harder, because we get people in the gym and get them to working out and eating better. That also helps this also.
But the culture is here.
Thanks, sir, Mr. Daughter.
Well, Wayne and I were on the board 9 years ago when we saw that we had a real issue with our medical plan. And we reached out and brought you on board, and you told us then that it was going to take some years to see results. And, I'm short-sighted. I like to see immediate results. But it's very clear that this has been very beneficial, not only for the county, but also for our employees. So I congratulate you. You actually won out after bringing you in and getting your sales pitch. We had some doubts, I think, at the time, but it's proved very successful.
Well, I'm a terrible salesperson, but your staff it's been a great team effort. It is not one person, it's everybody working together to improve things. It's the staff, it's finance, it's the leadership, it's your employees, HR, the culture that, was outlined. Things are in a much better place than where we were 9 to 10 years ago, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, but
hanging on with me.
you had the vision and the plan,
Thank
and
you.
you brought it to us, and our staff implemented it, and was behind it 100%, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you. There's a lot of times I get ignored. So, so I'm really grateful that it worked out. And, even the best laid plans can fail, but I'm grateful for it, and thank you so much.
We appreciate it. That shows, to both Commissioners Foster and Daughter's point, our Human Resource Department, our County Manager's Office, proves that they're doing their job. They got our employees, health, best heart. So we appreciate you coming in and give us some good news. And,
Always nice to get too much
we've seen
right.
the progress in the programs that's been put forth, and we appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I got a question for Dave Coderback. Dave, how is the power lift, stretchers affected our workers' comp claims?
Well,
I know, I'm putting you on the spot, but I feel quite sure that you have a ballpark figure, or. I mean, you know, we discussed a lot about spending all that money for those power lift stretchers, but not only has it benefited the county, it's benefited our employees.
There's one thing on the morbid obesity. So there's also a study that's out there that talks about BMI greater than 40 not only has an impact on the health plan, but also has an impact on workers' compensation. So if there's ever a time you want to talk about, let's take a look at the claims that are coming through on the people that are struggling with weight and what you're seeing or not seeing, I would love to have the ability to have a conversation, not only on the health plan side, but support the.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we'll, it's not 9:30 yet, so we'll move on to unfinished business. Ginger and Andrew, discussion on the opioid settlement funds, option A strategies.
Good morning again. So, as you're aware, we currently, Wayne County, we've gone over this multiple times, most recently last fall in our annual meeting, but we're the recipient of opioid settlement funds along with all the counties and some cities across the state of North Carolina. That's governed by an MOU, again, which we've gone over, but that was negotiated by the Attorney General's office, and all the counties signed on to it. It outlines what you can use these funds for, what requirements are or you have to follow, so certain audits, things of that nature. Most importantly, we're to the point now we want to start spending some of that money. So you all decided to create a working group with some local stakeholders. We have representatives from EMS, DSS, the city, and then some other ones, and they've been working over the last several months to come with you on a proposal on how best to move forward. So the full request for applications is in front of you. What the working group decided is out of the option A strategies, and remember you have option A, which are enumerated uses, strategies that are tried and true that you don't have to do any planning for, and then you have option B. The group decided to go with option A. I will say probably the majority of counties and cities across the state have gone with option A. I'm only aware of maybe one or two that have gone the option B route. And then there was some discussion on whether or not we wanted to narrow down the option A. Did we want to open it up to everything in that list? Did we want to narrow it down at first? Because you're getting these funds over the course of 18 years. So this is a long-term project. So we identified 5, and I've put together just a quick summary in front of you. 5 of the strategies that were in option A. So recovery support services, early intervention, addiction treatment for incarcerated persons, reentry programs, and then criminal justice diversion programs. Those were the 5 that in our request for applications that we narrowed that down. So the plan would be to issue out this request for application similar like we do for any construction project, a bid, anything like that. And then interested stakeholders in the community could come back, submit an application. This would go back to your working group. The working group would score all the applications. There's a rubric in the request for applications. And then they would make a final recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. So just real quick, and I only went out 5 years on our settlement allocations. When we put together the RFA, we didn't put any restrictions on how many years somebody could request funds, how much they could request funds, because quite honestly, we didn't know what we might receive back. So right now, it's pretty open-ended. Somebody can submit a request and say, for 10 years, I want $1 million a year. Now, obviously, we don't have the money to do that, but, you know, it's open, so people, nonprofits, stakeholders can come to you and ask, present their idea, it can be reviewed, and then you all can make a determination. Just as an overview, what we've received to date, approximately $1.9 million has been received to date. I do believe we've got another payment coming in early summer, I believe, of this fiscal year. And then I've outlined the next 5 years. So I think the preliminary idea, depending on what type of proposals we get, is the working group really wouldn't want to move past that 5-year period because we do have some more payments coming in. Also, the working group has to refine, do we want to give out all the money do we have? Do we want to reserve it in case there's another project? These are all things that'll be determined based off, the applications that are received. So in the request for applications, it lays out everything that, those 5 strategies. There's actually an application itself that either the nonprofit or the local agency or what have you would have to fill out that application. It requires different things, letters of support, financials, things of that nature to prove that they've been in the business and they know what they're doing. We have it structured right now, it's a reimbursement process, meaning that this agency or nonprofit would spend the money, they would submit receipts, and then we would reimburse them. We did put a provision in there. We know that that may be prohibitive to some startup nonprofits who don't have the cash on hand. So there is an option at the manager's discretion. If he reviews the plan and he's comfortable with it, we could make an advance grant. But that'll be determined on a case-by-case basis. And then our proposed timeline is right there in front of you. So April 1st, we're trying to get the applications open. And then we'll have a Q&A period that also begins. Our plan is we have a list of nonprofits and providers that has been provided to us by DSS and the health department. So we're going to circulate this RFA to them. Also, we've been in touch with the city and their community development department, and so that they can circulate it and advertise it on their website. We will have a bidders meeting here, I believe, at 2 o'clock on April 17th. So anybody that's interested can come and ask questions, get clarification. Then the Q&A period would end. We would post those answers. And then right now we have the applications being due May 10th. We tentatively would come back to you all, the working group would, with award recommendations by June 4th. And then hopefully by the end of June, you all would make a decision on award. And then the first part of the next fiscal year, we can get those applications completed and get the money turned out. So, and those last 2 points I already mentioned, that we would prefer reimbursement, but we're open to other options if needed. And then, the limit on award amounts, I think we just have to see what we get back, what kind of responses we get back, and then prioritize what's most important. The other thing, I've talked about nonprofits. This is open to local agencies. It's our intent that DSS and Health, the Sheriff's Department, I know he's got some, currently got an MAT program at the jail. So it's not just open to nonprofits. It's open to any providers, any agencies that would benefit from these identified strategies. So that's just a big overview. These dates can change if you want them changed. If you want to add some of the strategies, I can pull up that list and we can have that conversation, but this was the recommendation from our working group.
Andrew, can you make sure this information is disseminated to all municipalities and not only the city?
We will.
Do we have any further comments or conversations or questions for Andrew or Ginger?
Mr. Chairman, I think it's real important for the people in Wayne County to understand that the North Carolina County Commissioners Association was instrumental in getting the money here. 85% of the money comes locally, and county commissioners decide how it's spent, as opposed to the tobacco settlement that all went to the state, and the state decides how it gets spent. So I think the County Commissioners Association is really entitled to a big.
So we can try to put it in places that it needs to be used.
Right.
Here at home, agreed.
And I will say too, if, at some point, I've mentioned we may be getting more settlements, there's some bankruptcies, there's the Purdue Pharma that's still hanging out there, so there could be more money. We could always open this application period back up mid-year if we wanted to. If we got more money and there's really a need and nonprofits are calling, we can make that decision to open it back up. I mean, this is a fluid process, so it's not meant to just be a one-year thing. It can be as flexible as you all want it to be, depending on the need that's out there.
So each year, if nonprofit or organization is awarded, they will still have to apply again that next year.
That's up to you. That's up to you. If you got an application, if nonprofit A said, I'm submitting an application, I want 3 years of funding, and you all thought that that was good, then you can go ahead and award 3 years of funding. They don't have to come back every year. It's completely up, it's depending on what the application is, so.
But the working group is kind of staying on point about making sure that those organizations or whatever is making sure it's working. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
and
just gonna be a,
I thank you for bringing that up. It's in the application, and also it's gonna be in the contract, that there's gonna be quarterly reports that are due, back to the county, because we have a reporting obligation to the state as part of these funds. So I wanna make sure that it's clear, it's not that we're just gonna send this money out and not hold them accountable for what they're spending on. They have to give us metrics, they have to prove how they're making a difference, and if not, then obviously that puts their funding in jeopardy. But we do have reporting obligations, so we make sure that they follow through with those as well.
thank you. Ginger, you want to say something?
Andrew covered it fairly well.
Ginger and Andrews pretty much spearheaded the opioid thing, and we appreciate their work on it. Any other questions or comments? All right, entertain a motion to approve the request for application for Wayne County opioid settlement funds, option A strategies.
Motion.
All right, we got a motion to approve. All in favor? Is it working yet? No. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, it's 9:38. We'll go back to our 9:30 public hearing. I'll call a public hearing to order in reference to the comments and amendments to Article 7 of the Wayne County Code of Ordinance related to solar facilities, as well as the Wayne County zoning ordinance related to wind energy facilities. Mr. Berry?
Good morning.
Morning.
This is a public hearing for basically two ordinance amendments. One is the zoning ordinance, and I'll cover that really quick. That's the simplest. The zoning ordinance, and you have a copy of that in your packet. In that ordinance, we're looking at wind energy facilities or the wind turbines. Our ordinance has overlay districts for airports. We have 3 airports in this county, so we do have some airport overlay districts. So what we're looking in here is to limit or prohibit wind energy facilities within those airport overlay districts. So it's not prohibiting in the whole county. Now, keep in mind, these type of facilities, we're not in a wind zone that really courts those type of facilities at this point. Usually you see them on mountaintops or longer off the coast, as being discussed as well. However, technology changes, and you never know what the future brings. So we're trying to be proactive, especially with our airports, the 3 airports that we have. So this amendment just puts wind energy facilities within those districts as an actual prohibited use at this point. So not for the whole county, just those areas.
Any questions on that? All right, thank you. All right, go ahead to the next one.
The next item I have is our solar energy facility. We do have a solar energy facility ordinance that applies to the whole county. You do have a copy of that for you, or you should. There's quite a bit of change in this ordinance. I do want to point out that some of this is, grammar. Some of it's just like adding like the first page, purpose and objectives. The main thing I do want to point out, and I did highlight those items in red, the new language. If something's being removed, you see a little line through it or a strike through, you'll see that. But the red text is what's changing. But I do want to point out in terms of regulation, if you'll go to page 3 of the Solar Energy Facility Ordinance, there's an item G and H in red. This I wanted to point out. Before I say this, I do want to note, I did a little bit of research with the county, looking at solar facilities that we currently have, and of course those that are proposed. And I do wanted to mention this before diving in. existing facilities that we have on the ground for solar energy, they account for about 1,000 acres of what's on the ground of solar energy facilities. About 938 of that is farmland. In terms of those existing facilities. In terms of what's proposed, we've had several that have been proposed over the past year and a half to 2 years that have not gone on the ground yet. Because as you know, it takes a little while for these to actually get approved through the power company and get constructed. What's being proposed is about, let's see, in terms of acreage, farmland acreage and what's proposed runs about 1,359 and what's not on the ground yet. So a total of about 2,300 acres of farmland within existing or proposed solar facilities. 2,300 acres of farmland. And to put that in perspective, the next single largest impact to farmland in this county over the, what I call recent history, has been highway construction. So 795 and 70 bypass accounted for about 1,400 acres of farmland that were removed basically from the books. So comparing the two, 2,300 to 1,400, 1,400 being your next biggest impact. So solar facilities by far have your largest impact in this county on farmland.
This
So
is in Wayne County,
This
right?
is in Wayne County, yes ma'am. So I say that just to mention before diving into this, we did look at ways to look at open space, preserving open space, especially farmland in this county. And even developable land. As you know, a lot of our land has good soils for septic as well for residential and for other uses. So we looked at G and H here. G is related to ag, our farmland. And what we did was we took the Wayne County Soil Survey, which actually maps out the county in terms of the soils themselves. And it splits those soils up into capability classes. So there's technically, I think, 7 or 8 capability classes, one being the best in terms of farmlands, 7 or 8 being the worst. But in Wayne County, it really just averages 1 to 5. We don't really have those other ones. So 5 being the worst in Wayne County. And so what we did was we designed this ordinance to limit or restrict solar facilities within the Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 soil capability classes. Those are, like I said, your better soils for farming. Your Class 4 and 5, of course, solar facilities would be allowed in those. I will say this is mapped. We do have this mapped. It is available to anyone who's looking to design a solar facility. Just like any solar facility you've seen in the past, when they're designed based on wetlands, to go around wetlands, flood areas, different places. So when a company is looking at a location, they'll simply just need to look at the soil survey, look at our GIS maps, they're on there, and determine, and when they're creating these or looking for properties, look at it based on those soil capabilities. So it's fairly clear, it is documented information, and it is accessible to the public and to companies who are looking to design these solar facilities. Keep in mind too, this is not a prohibition of solar facilities. Like I said, it's just basically giving individuals the ability to design them in different locations or in different ways to help protect some of our better farmland. So, and then the second part of this is H. This is geared towards our septic areas, our septic fields. And again, the same soil survey actually does identify soils that are suitable for septic and not suitable for septic. And we have those mapped out as well on our GIS. And I want to thank Julio Garrido for keeping that information up to date, for keeping that accessible to the public. So it is very helpful to have that. So when you pull up our GIS in the county, you can pull up a layer called the soils layer. It'll give you the soil types, and it'll actually, in red, highlight what soils are suitable for septic and which ones are not. And so in this case, we would want solar facilities to look at soils that are not suitable for septic that they potentially could use. One example that I have found would be, if you're familiar with Hare Road, there's a solar facility right off of Hare Road. It backs up to Highway 70. And that one is in an area that is in a capability class for farms as a 4 and/or 5, and so that's perfectly fine. And the soils are not suitable for septic. So in terms of that facility, there's no issue, or would, if that were to come in based on this new ordinance, it would be permittable. So again, it's not that we are prohibiting or saying you can't develop solar facilities. It's just a matter of they're just looking at how they're designed and the location of them. Especially if they go over larger tracks, it'll be easier to shift and adjust those panels to account for that. Those are the two main, what I call restrictions or regulations tied to this. There are a couple of other things. We did put in here information about the floodplain. So like on page 4, if you look at N in red, no solar panels shall be located within a regulated floodplain, floodway, or 500-year flood zone based on the latest FEMA flood maps adopted by Wayne County. Typically, when these are designed, the solar companies do not design these within the flood zones. But it was not actually in our ordinance, so we just wanted to put it in there just so it was identified. So in the future, if you ever did have one, it could be addressed at that point. But we haven't had that issue. They tend to address that themselves. So a lot of this is, like I said, wording change for maintenance, like for example, maintenance of the fences, where we require fences, we want them to be maintained, so we've added maintain in a couple of places. But with that said, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Anybody got any questions for Barry?
Yeah, there's one thing I really like, Barry, is on page 5H, provide proof of bonding for decommissioning.
Right.
That wasn't there before.
Yep.
Because I always had a concern, when these solar farms reached their max, that we didn't have something in place for decommissioning.
And the good thing is, from what I understand, states require bonding as well, so it'd be helpful if they provided that to us, as proof that it is, and they've even been through that process. And
Right.
You say the state already has it.
yeah, I think, or they were looking at an amendment or a statute, I don't know if it's been finalized yet or not, of requiring those things.
Yes.
But regardless, it's gonna be helpful to us to have that for them to.
Well, isn't it in a lot of the contracts in Wayne County that the decommission is in the contracts?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, but what they're stating is
I
bonded.
Yeah, I know, yes. Contracts can be broke.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I did have a question on the wording on H, where it states that solar energy facilities shall only be located on land comprising of soil identified as severe for septic tanks versus not suitable.
Oh,
What
well,
is the
that's what-
definition of severe?
Yeah, that's severe is the not suitable. That's what that, if it's severe for septic, then it's not suitable.
That's the terminology.
So that's the terminology that is used.
That's used,
Yes.
yeah.
It just looked like they put it in plain English, and that is that basically it's not suitable.
Yeah.
But
That's
it's the same meaning.
Soils maps terminology.
Terminology, just so it matches up with.
Okay, all right. The other question I have is on N, where you're saying no solar panels shall be located within a regulated floodplain, floodway, or 500-year flood zone based on the latest FEMA flood maps. Why would there be an issue of locating a solar farm within a 500-year floodplain?
The issue with the 500-year is we have seen events where our 500-year has flooded. And so we definitely don't want to promote anything like that, electrical, those type of components, even within the 500-year, because our 500-year has flooded.
And the
So
last-
that is our concern.
In
I
the last two storms that's happened.
I do understand that, but it looks like you could have some precautions where it all be elevated that would be well above the 500.
Well, the 500-year, technically, there is no, FEMA doesn't provide any elevation or any elevation numbers. So there's no elevation, no numbers you can go base it off of. So they don't identify what the flood level is within that 500-year flood zone. So there's not any sort of guidance for that, so.
I'm fine with it as it is, but I would hope that we might want to look at that, because if in fact someone could elevate it well above the 500-year floodplain, elevation with all the electrical components as well as the solar panels, because you're just increasing the height of the metal stands. I would just ask that we look at that in the future, if there's someone that applies for it within the 500-year floodplain.
The issue I see with the 500-year flood deal is it's gonna keep expanding.
Exactly.
Because the more impervious surface that we incur in the county, the water's got to run somewhere, and it's gonna run somewhere faster. So that means it's gonna level out a little bit more, so.
Well,
Well, you mentioned that, there's nowhere for it in the county to run. The problem is not Wayne County, the problem is Wake and Orange County. There's nowhere for the water to go up there. I mean, I hate to be passing the buck, but, I mean, everybody knows that. I mean, there's no dirt left in Wake and Orange County, it's concrete and asphalt.
We're contributing to that as well.
Well, we are, well, I'm not saying that we're not guilty too, but.
well, I'm just concerned from the standpoint that you're already limiting the usage of the land within the 500-year floodplain as it is, and we're putting additional restrictions on the use. And if there is a way that it can be done safely, then I would hope that we would readdress that. Thank you very much.
All right, any other comments?
Just,
Questions?
as far as the 5-year flood plan, if I live till next week, I'll be 78 years old. And I had never seen a 500-year flood until the last two that we have had. I'm not comparing the figures in a while, but, it's just, there's so much changed in 75 years that we've had absolutely no control over.
All right, any other comments?
Good job,
Miss-
Barry.
Carol, we got anybody signed up? I'm sorry.
We have
Hold
one
on.
person, Mr.
Hold on one
Chair.
second. Chip, you had something?
I'd just like to thank the work of the planning department and Barry and Julio and the staff, and also the planning board for working on these
Agreed.
changes.
We appreciate that. You have one, you said?
Yes, sir, we do. Mr. Kevin Johnson.
Mr. Johnson. I thought you were on vacation.
Private citizen now.
He brought the boss with him, though.
I have talked to Barry multiple times about this. Y'all know I support, promote, advocate agriculture. And I do think, I think this is a great piece that we've added here. It's protecting our farmland, it's protecting our farms. If you look at our current solar facilities that we have, a lot of times the landowners are not active in farming, or they're absentee landowners. And there are some cases where we are seeing some of our current farmers that have put some land in these facilities. But at the end of the day, they're looking at a short-term gain of cash, and they're eroding away our industry. And it's our number one industry. I'm very proud of it, and I think this will help maintain that. To answer Mr. Daugherty about the 500-year flood, a lot of that's still being farmed. A lot of that land was cleared back in, years ago, we could clear what was called wetlands. We can't do that anymore, but, so it's still actively being farmed, and it's still part, it's an industry that's taking advantage of that, so I will say that.
Kind of like marshland.
Yes, yes, stuff like you see down Elm Piney Grove Church Road, part of the Wickham and John series of soils, yes.
Arrington Ridge Road, some of that.
And some of that, yes, sir, yes, sir. But that's my comments.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
That's a true ag man right there. He
Yeah.
said solar facility. So that the only
Yes, sir,
one?
That was the only person that signed up to speak.
All right, so seeing no more, we'll close the public hearing. So I entertain a motion to approve the amended section of 50.8 and 50.12 of the Wayne County zoning ordinance, as well as the solar facility ordinance as they relate to the wind energy facility and solar energy facility, in that The amendments are consistent with policies 2.11, 4.1, 4.6, and 7.16 of the Wayne County Land Use Plan, considering that the proposed amendment would preserve open natural areas and preserve the public health and safety, including the potential impact to the aviation by reducing the size of facilities.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So move.
All in favor say, well, all in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you. All right, we got, let's see, here we go back to I need a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, thank y'all. We'll go on to new business. A motion, or entertain a motion to agree to the agreement between the County of Wayne, City of Goldsboro, Friends of Seymour for the contract with Crossroads Strategies contingent upon attorney approval and appropriate budget amendment.
Mr.
Of
Chairman,
course, this is for lobbyists and consulting activities related to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base and our legislative friends in Washington.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the agreement between the County of Wayne, City of Goldsboro, Friends of Seymour for a contract with Crossroads Strategy contingent upon the attorney approval and appropriate budget amendment.
All right, have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
Has Goldsboro already approved this, or in their meeting or anything?
I think they were discussing it last
They
night.
were discussing it?
We've been in conversation with the mayors.
Okay,
I think it was on last night, agenda, and they did do it.
Did it?
okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. It's in favor. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, we'll go on to public comments. Have we got anybody signed up?
No,
Nobody
sir, we
signed
do
up?
not.
All right. County manager report.
No comments, sir.
All right. Go on to Board of Commissioners report. Mr. Daugherty,
No comment?
Mr. Wayne Acott.
Yes, sir. Just want to remind everyone, today is election day. Please go vote. You ain't necessarily got to vote the way I vote, but this is America, and that's one freedom that a lot of men and women have sacrificed their lives and injuries for us to have that right. So I just ask that everyone go out and vote, vote your conscience, and that's what this country was founded on. And I just ask that you go out and take the time to cast your ballot.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Acott.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to remind everybody, Goldsboro is having their Main Street Conference March 12th here in Goldsboro. That's a big conference. It's going to start at 1 o'clock at the Paramount Theater. You've seen a lot of activity around Goldsboro, replanting and everything to get ready for this Main Street Conference. That is a big thing across North Carolina. So hopefully everybody can get out and enjoy that. Also, on March 22nd, we will have change of command for the 4th Fighter Wing Unit. I think Colonel Till will be leaving us again. And I appreciate the working relationship that he has brought to this board and always having a representative here for us. And we appreciate that too. But it's been really nice to have that kind of working relationship. And please convey that to Colonel Till for me, and Colonel Walker also as well. Cancer Gala, everybody is in some way or form has been affected by cancer. They're gonna have a cancer gala, Harmony for Hope, at the Maxwell Center, April the 13th at 6 o'clock. I think the fee is $50 for that.
Is that the Cures for Color?
Same thing, yes. Also, March is Agriculture Week. Thank a farmer for what he does. That's hard work, and we thank them for what they got to do. And I also want to thank Kevin Johnson for his dedication and passion for farming, because I share that sentiment exactly, because we need to save our farmland and everything. We don't want to buy everything from China. But farming is a way of life for these people that do farming. My husband farmed for many years, It's not for everybody, so we should be very appreciative for the ones who volunteer to farm because it is really hard work. And I just want to emphasize how much I appreciate our farmers. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Horton?
I'd just like to reiterate what Mr. Wayne Acott had to say. Get out and vote, folks, but not only get out and vote, do your research. You know, one of my pet peeves is an uneducated voter. You know, just don't take what someone hands you and go vote. Do your own research, get the qualified candidates in there. We need them, now more than ever. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Foster?
Yes, Commissioner Williams couldn't be here. He just wanted me to let everyone know he had some political issues he needed to handle. And also, March is Women's History Month, so I think, you know, we need to make sure we recognize our women in history this month. You know, maybe we can do a proclamation next meeting, something for that. That's about it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I add one thing to what Commissioner Barbara Adcock said? The Cures for Color event, just in, you know, for your information, Southeastern Medical Oncology is really what puts that on. And you can purchase your tickets there. I'm quite sure there's other places that you can purchase your tickets. But as some of y'all know, I'm going through some issues now, and I'm there a couple of times a week. And I am so blessed and fortunate to have insurance and coverage. But there is so many people that go there that do not. And so if you feel free-hearted enough, if you don't feel like you want to go or need to go, just as a good gesture, purchase a couple of tickets and just have the staff out there to give them to someone that cannot afford to go, because, you know, I walk in there sometime depressed, and I look around, and I feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I mean, it's just, they do a fantastic job, because there's just so many people that's getting treatment there that do not have the money to get the treatment, and just any way that anyone can help out, I know they would certainly be appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right, I do want, Kevin's left, but we appreciate his service to Wayne County. Over the years, he's been a strong advocate for agriculture, and we'll miss him, his demeanor and way to handle things in a positive aspect will be missed. But I'm sure we'll have somebody kind of come in and not fill his shoes, but maybe take the reins and keep moving forward. Also, Colonel Teal and Meg, because she's pretty much the backbone. When colonels have to deploy, the spouses are the backbone of that family, and knowing them, their children growing up here in Wayne County, going to Meadow Lane where Michelle was the counselor, so she's known the Teals for a long time, and we appreciate his service, and his future is bright. I'm sure we'll see in the coming years, we'll see him in a higher role that we can depend on to keep Seymour Johnson's mission moving forward here at home. Next thing is the Special Olympics is having a fundraiser on April the 6th. It'll be a golf tournament to benefit the Special Olympics. It'll be at 1 o'clock at Lane Tree Golf Club, and you can, it's like $200 for a 4-man team, $100 sponsorship. Ryan sent this to me, Ryan Hood, good friend of mine, and I told him that I would share that. So that's a worthy organization that helps a lot of people. Very positive outcomes that come from there. They enjoy competing like everybody else does, and we're big supporters of the Special Olympics. So I just wanted to bring that up. Next thing probably is not going to be. This is probably not going to be. Can be construed by some as not being a popular conversation, but, you know, a lot of people ain't got the backbone to say it, but I do. Education starts at home. The parents need to be involved in education. And I say parents, the guardian, because some are not blessed to have parents, for whatever reason. You know, a lot of times, school system gets blamed for outcome of some of the students or some of the children. So I'll say this right here. Parents or guardians, get involved in your child's education. I guarantee you that the school, the administrators will not push you away if you come in a positive mindset to try to be involved, because I can promise you, if you're involved on the front end of a situation, 9 times out of 10, there won't be a back end, which a lot of times ends up in expulsion or alternative school or whatever, for that matter. Families intervention is a number one role in a child's development, and that starts at an early age. The misnomer of money fixes everything. Money don't fix it all. You can throw all the money you want to in the world at something. You've got teachers, and I can, just for the simple fact of knowing, I lived with an educator for 30 years, well, still live with her for that matter, but she was an educator for 30 years, and actually still educating. And I'll be honest, she's one of the smartest women I know. I try my best to put her in private practice, because I told her, I said, you can make a whole lot more money doing what you're doing. And she told me, she said, look, I didn't get in this to get rich. I knew I wasn't going to get rich. I did it for 3 reasons. One, I thought I could make a difference in the children's lives. Second is when we had children, she wanted to be able to stay home with them in the summertime. And third is to making sure that our children had the best education and trying to push them in the right places. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of great teachers, and I'll be the first to tell you there's not enough money that some of them, you can't pay them enough. There's one, and she's still at Meadow Lane. She, when the old school was there, she would be the last one to leave. I mean, I'm talking about when the old wings were there. You didn't have to worry about setting the alarms because it wasn't an alarm. Her husband had to come get her and say, it's time to go home. It'd be 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. She was preparing for the next day. And her class was a multi-age class, 1st and 2nd grade. Every one of my girls went through that class. I got one still in high school. 2's graduated. Both of those graduated early their senior year. And a lot of it comes for teachers like her, not just her, but and it goes back to what I said, money don't fix everything. She's a dedicated teacher. And yes, I mean, and my wife will be the first to tell you, I mean, and we're good friends with John Bell and Jim Perry, and they didn't talk a whole lot of teacher pay when it come to Michelle, because she pretty much had her data and she bring it out. The issue we've got, in my opinion, based on her data and her research, is the compression issue in teacher salaries. They've done a whole lot, the state has done a whole lot to give raises to teachers on the front end. And that's where the raises have gone, is on the front end of to try to recruit teachers. But as they've done that, they brought the gap that was here between teacher starting and teacher, and I call it tenure, but the ones that's been there 25, 30 years, and they've shortened that gap. And the tenured teachers don't feel appreciated. The tenured teachers, the ones that have done the work, don't feel like they're appreciated. That lady I was talking about with Jenny Heim, she's probably the most underrated teacher there is in the state of North Carolina. But you never hear her complain about anything. So I'll leave it at that. And I get my criteria from credible sources as well. And the dollar won't fix everything. And I'll leave it at that. With all that being said, do we have any more closed session?
No, sir.
All right. Is that the last thing we got? All right, thank y'all. Go vote. Meeting adjourned.